I like fan theories, especially the ones that can't be refuted, unless J.K. Rowling comes in here and tells me I'm wrong to my face. So today, I want to tell you about a Harry Potter fan theory my sister came up with quite some time back, and after I thought about it a little, I expanded on it and thought you guys might like to hear it. Slight spoilers for the Harry Potter books and movies. This is the Marauders Map, a very handy tool Harry Potter uses to navigate Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, which tells him where everyone else in the school is. It got the name from the creators of the map, the Marauders, Harry's father, James Potter, and his three friends and fellow classmates, Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, and Peter Pettigrew. Harry gets it in his third year at the school, in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That's about all we know about the map, but my sister and I believe that this is not the only Marauders map. We believe, at one time, there were 4 maps, one for each Marauder. Tactically, this makes a lot of sense. The books get into this a little more than the movies, but since Remus was a werewolf, his 3 friends decided to become animagi, or shapeshifters basically. They could each transform into a specific kind of animal, much like Professor McGonagall or Rita Skeeter. The 3 Marauders did this as an act of solidarity, to let Remus know he wasn't alone whenever he would transform. Then I guess they would all go out in the wild and run around with him, and when he would transform again, they would need to get back into the castle. That's where the map would come in handy, so you don't accidentally run into a professor when you're sneaking back in. But with 4 Marauders, wouldn't it make more sense for each of them to have a map instead of all of them huddling around the same map? If they got separated, it would be very handy for each of them to have a way of tracking who is where in the school. Let's assume there really are 4 maps. Whose map did Harry get from Fred and George Weasley? And what happened to the other 3 maps? Obviously, we can't pinpoint the answers to these questions, and there's going to be many leaps in logic and jumping to conclusions, but I have some theories nonetheless. I don't think Sirius Black had his map anymore by the time everyone was looking for him after he escaped from Azkaban prison. When Professor Lupin still believes Sirius betrayed Harry's parents, he specifically mentions how dangerous it would be if Sirius Black got access to the map when he catches Harry with it. In fact, it's for this very reason I suspect Remus, who seemed to be the most responsible of the 4 Marauders, probably destroyed his own map shortly after graduating Hogwarts, since the Wizarding War was quickly ramping up at this time, so he probably didn't want Voldemort or one of his followers to get their hands on it. We never do see Remus with a map in any of his appearances. Of course, that's not conclusive. As a staff member, he wouldn't need the map, and after he resigns from his position of professor, every time we see him, he's not at the school, so the map would be useless to him if he did still have it. But since Remus is concerned Sirius might get a hold of Harry's map, it's likely Sirius's map was either destroyed or was otherwise lost to Sirius in a permanent fashion, since he would have no reason to steal a map if he already had access to one. And I don't think Peter Pettigrew had access to his map anymore. He stayed in the form of a rat for 13 years, so wherever any of his physical possessions were after he betrayed James and Lily Potter, he couldn't get to them. If his map was still around, either at a house or in a vault at Gringotts, he couldn't get to it without separating himself from the Weasleys, which would be difficult to do without blowing his cover. And in Goblet of Fire, Barty Crouch Jr. borrowed Harry's map, and I believe Peter told him about it and how to turn it on. Even after Peter's cover was blown in Prisoner of Azkaban, if he still had his map, he could have retrieved it for Crouch to use when infiltrating Hogwarts, but he didn't. He probably told Crouch how to take Harry's map and use it instead. While it is possible Peter and Sirius's respective maps were in their vault at Gringotts, I don't think it is very likely. Sirius tells Harry at the end of Prisoner of Azkaban, the book, that he sent Hermione's cat Crookshanks to the Owl office to order Harry's new broom using his own money from his own vault. If Sirius still had his own map at Gringotts, he could have done something similar to what he did to pay for Harry's broom. But since he didn't, I'm thinking his map wasn't available to him if it is still extant. That leaves James's map. This may be a stretch, but I don't think Harry has his dad's map. I think the map Fred and George gave Harry, which they stole from Argus Filch's desk in their first year, was Sirius's map. And I think Dumbledore has James's map. Dumbledore anonymously passed James's invisibility cloak to Harry in Harry's first year, and said, "Your father wanted you to have it when you were old enough." We later find out Dumbledore and the Potters were in the original Order of the Phoenix together, so it makes sense James would trust Dumbledore with something so important as a family heirloom that had been passed down since the 13th century. And if he trusted his old headmaster with the invisibility cloak, why not with his map? It might not have seemed as important as an invisibility cloak since James was no longer going to be at Hogwarts, and at the time, nobody in the Order knew about the Horcruxes hidden at Hogwarts, so James probably thought the map was no longer something he needed for himself. So why wouldn't Dumbledore pass the map on to Harry when he gave him the invisibility cloak? Dumbledore seems to encourage Harry to break nearly every school rule with the exception of putting his name in the Goblet of Fire, so why wouldn't he give him his father's old map? Well, all joking aside, even though Dumbledore is pretty lenient with Harry over the years, I'm guessing he thought giving a map that would give Harry free reign of the castle along with his invisibility cloak would be too irresponsible as headmaster. But more importantly, I think Dumbledore thought he could use the map himself. I'm sure if you comb through all the books and movies, there are times where you would question why Dumbledore wouldn't have acted in a certain way if he had the map. Why would Barty Crouch be in the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom at this time? Alistair Moody is supposed to be in there, but the map says he's in a treasure chest in his office. But he's a busy man. I'm assuming he's got duties other than destroying Horcruxes. We see a few times in the series that Dumbledore takes trips to the Ministry of Magic, so maybe he wasn't always in a position to use the map. Or possibly, James didn't tell Dumbledore what the map was for and only gave it to him along with a few other key possessions. I'd say that one isn't very likely, mostly because I like to think Dumbledore used the map to find out Harry had spent multiple nights sitting in front of the Mirror of Erised in Harry's first year. For the Mad-Eye Moody thing, I don't know. Maybe he had no reason to suspect Moody was up to no good, so he didn't even bother looking at him in the map. I should mention, near the end of Goblet of Fire, after it's discovered Mad-Eye Moody is actually Barty Crouch Jr., Crouch mentions Harry's map, and Dumbledore seems confused and asks for clarification. This seems to indicate that, until now, Dumbledore was unaware of the map's existence. But this whole chapter has Dumbledore asking Crouch to explicitly explain how he did everything, even though by the time Crouch's true identity is revealed, it seems like Dumbledore already has a pretty good idea how he did everything, but he wants it to be spelled out very clearly for everyone else in the room. It could be that Dumbledore did know about the map and wanted Crouch to explain for Snape and McGonagall, who might not have known. Or he knew about the map James Potter gave him years ago, but didn't know Harry had another map until this moment. So if Dumbledore does have a map, does anyone else have one, and if so, who? This might surprise you, but my sister thinks Dennis Creevey has one. In Order of the Phoenix, Dennis, a second year, is seen at Hogsmeade, a small village close to Hogwarts that third years and up could visit in their off time. Dennis, a second year, is at Hogsmeade. My sister suspects Dennis got there in the same way Harry did, illegally, sneaking there using a map. We don't really know enough about Dennis to know if he's the kind of guy who would partake in the mischief generally partaken in when using the map, but this is as good of an explanation as any for why Dennis is there. Well, actually, J.K. Rowling has admitted she's not very good at math, so this might be a better explanation. But let's say Dennis does have a map. Whose is it? If Dumbledore has James Potter's map and Harry has Sirius's, and we go all in with the idea that Remus destroyed his map years ago, that means Dennis has Peter Pettigrew's map. Harry noted that Peter Pettigrew reminded him of Neville Longbottom, who, as Ron Swanson would say, is both the Schlemiel and the Schlemazel. If any of the Marauders were likely to straight up lose their map, my money is on the kid Harry compared to Neville Longbottom, who, in his third year, lost a list of passwords to the Gryffindor common room. So that accounts for 3 of the maps. But while I think this theory makes a lot of sense, I don't think there's any actual evidence to support it. This whole theory initially was based on the mistake that Dennis Creevey is at Hogsmeade, which isn't quite enough to make any conclusions. But also, there isn't really anything in the books that shoot this down either, at least I don't think so. So unless Rowling comes out and says there was only one map, this will just linger in our headcanon range. But what do you guys think? One map? 4? 400? Let me know in the comments below, and in the meantime, I do other videos, so check those out also. Until the future, have a great day.